Okay, let's dive into something incredibly relatable. Have you ever been in the middle of explaining something? You hit a tiny mental speed bump, and suddenly your speech is peppered with, um, or,
Oh, absolutely. It's that moment where your brain feels like it's just uh, buffering, trying to find the next word, and something has to fill the silence.
exactly. Buffering is a good word for it. And today we're doing a deep dive into a fascinating script that focuses specifically on mastering that, improving your speech fluency and taming those common verbal pauses.
Yeah, and our mission really with this material is to pull out the most practical, actionable advice, giving you insights straight from this source that can genuinely help smooth out your communication.
And then boost your confidence too, right?
Definitely boost your confidence.
Because honestly, those little pauses can feel like they trip you up right when you need to sound clearest. So let's start with what this source calls the pause predicament. I think it captures that feeling perfectly. You're talking, your brain briefly hits pause, maybe, and out pops a filler word. We've all been there.
We really have. And what's interesting is how the script explains the why behind this. It suggests these pauses and fillers are often literally your brain giving itself time to process what's coming next.
Ah, okay.
Think of it as your mind's brief loading screen.
A loading screen for your thoughts. That actually makes so much sense. You're formulating the complex ideal, and the mouth just needs a second to catch up sometimes.
Right. And the source points out that while it feels natural to us, the speaker, these pauses are quite noticeable to listeners.
Yeah, I bet.
It uses this analogy of watching a suspense movie, but with buffering issues.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and kind of awkward, pulls you right out of the story.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're hooked, waiting for the payoff, and then stutter buffering. You'd totally lose the momentum.
exactly. Kills the mood.
Okay, so we understand why it happens and the impact it has. What does this script offer in terms of like actual solutions? It lays out 7 key strategies to help manage these pauses.
Yeah, these are techniques that the material suggests can actively help reduce that reliance on fillers and, improve overall fluency.
Okay, what's the first one?
Well, the first one sounds simple, but the script emphasizes its fundamental importance. Practice makes fluent.
Right. Practice. Makes sense.
It compares it to training for a marathon. You don't just show up on race day hoping for the best, do you?
Yeah, definitely not. So how do you practice speech?
Precisely.
Mhm.
You need to build the neural pathways and the comfort level. The script recommends pretty straightforward methods. Reading aloud daily, actively participating in conversations,
Okay.
or even just narrating your day or talking to a pet. They won't judge, probably.
Probably.
The repetition, it helps your brain and mouth work together more seamlessly.
Mhm.
And that reduces the need to pause and search for words.
Talking to my dog counts as practice. Excellent. I do that already. Okay, what's next?
Tip number 2 is embrace the power of the pause. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, right? If we're trying to reduce pauses.
It totally does. Yeah, tell me more about how the source frames this one.
Well, the script clarifies that not all pauses are fillers. Intentional pauses, they can actually be powerful tools.
Okay.
They're described in the material as the jazz hands of speech.
Yes, hands.
Yeah. Use them dramatically to emphasize a point or let an idea sink in, build anticipation. The force suggests strategically using silence rather than just filling it with sound, like,
Jazz hands of speech. I love that. It really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? From thinking of a pause as a mistake to seeing it as a technique. A well-placed silence can really make your words resonate more.
it really can. And it gives your listener's brain a chance to process and gives your own brain a moment to organize without feeling that pressure to just, make noise.
Okay, strategy 3 is one that makes me slightly squirm just thinking about it. Record and reflect.
Ah, yes. The script does acknowledge this can feel a bit cringeworthy. Hearing your own voice played back, it can be tough.
Oh, it is.
But, according to the material, it's one of the most effective ways to build awareness of your own speech patterns. That includes those filler words you might not even realize you're using so much.
Right, you can't fix the ums and ahs if you don't even know they're there, I suppose. It's like necessary tough love.
Awareness is absolutely the critical first step. That's what this source points to.
Okay, makes sense. All right, how about our speaking pace? Does that play a role?
Huge role. That brings us right to tip number 4. Slow down, speed racer.
Okay.
The script is quite clear here. Speaking too quickly is a major contributor to fillers. Your thoughts are just trying to keep pace with this rapid speech, and the fillers jump in when the connection kind of stutters.
Like trying to download a huge file on really slow internet.
Exactly. The script points out, conversation isn't an auction. There's no prize for getting your words out fastest.
Good point.
A slightly slower, more deliberate pace gives your brain adequate time to select words and structure sentences without feeling rushed.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Give your brain some room to breathe. Number 5 is about word choice then.
Yes, expand your vocabulary. This material describes having a rich vocabulary like having a well-stocked spice rack for your speech.
Nice analogy.
It adds flavor, sure, but maybe more importantly, it gives you access to more precise words. When you have a wider range of options readily available, you're less likely to fall back on vague fillers like, or just because you can't find the exact word you need right then.
So it improves the retrieval speed. You have more tools right there at your fingertips, ready to go.
Precisely. The script implies that expanding your word bank reduces the need to search, and so it reduces that pause where a filler might otherwise sneak in.
Got it. Tip number 6 is a surprisingly simple physical one. Stay hydrated.
Yeah, sounds basic, doesn't it? But the source mentions that physical dryness in your mouth can actually contribute to difficulties with smooth articulation. Yeah, sometimes leading to unintentional pauses or even a slight stammer. So keeping your mouth comfortable can make speech physically easier. And, it's generally good advice for health anyway.
Can't argue with that one.
Mm.
Okay, finally, tip 7 connects the mind and speech. Mindfulness and breathing.
This strategy, highlighted in the script, links calmness and focus directly to fluency. When you're present, less anxious, your thoughts tend to be clearer, and your access to language is smoother.
Okay.
Practicing intentional breathing exercises can help you stay grounded and composed, even in speaking situations that might feel a bit nerve-wracking.
So it helps regulate the nervous system maybe, so your brain isn't hijacked by anxiety, which could trigger those loading screens you talked about.
Exactly that. It's about managing the underlying state that might contribute to rushed or hesitant speech in the first place.
Right. Okay, so this script then brings these points to life by showing us the impact of excessive pausing in some real-life scenarios.
Yes, it does. The first example is the classic job interview.
Oh, yeah. Imagine being asked about a key skill and responding, well, I did this project, involving yikes. The source points out this doesn't exactly project confidence or competence, does it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It really undermines your message, no matter how skilled you actually are. The focus just shifts to your delivery issues rather than your actual qualifications.
True. Or the first date scenario the script uses. Asking about a favorite movie, and the response is like, I really enjoy, that film with the explosions. It's described quite sarcastically, I think, as smooth.
Yeah, hardly smooth. It certainly doesn't paint you as a captivating storyteller, makes the whole interaction feel hesitant and, well, potentially awkward.
Definitely awkward. And then there's public speaking, the audience is leaning forward, they're ready, and the speaker's delivery is just halting, full of fillers.
Which, according to the script's somewhat blunt assessment, can lead to the audience mentally checking out. Or even, nodding off.
Oh, dear.
It just breaks that crucial connection with your listeners.
These examples really reinforce that central idea from the source, then. You want to avoid being the human equivalent of a buffering video.
You really do.
Okay, so summing up the key takeaways from this script on taming those pauses. We have practice, the strategic embrace of intentional pauses, the sometimes uncomfortable but effective record and reflect, the crucial advice to slow down, the power of an expanded vocabulary, the simple aid of staying hydrated, and the grounding effect of mindfulness and breathing. 7 tips.
That's the toolkit this material presents. And it wisely adds a dose of reality, too. Eloquence, like Rome isn't built in a day. Improving fluency requires consistent effort and practice over time.
Absolutely. But the great thing is, these aren't just abstract concepts, are they? These are tools you can consciously start trying out right now. In your next phone call, your next meeting.
Or your next chat with your pet.
Or your next chat with your pet, exactly.
So building on everything we've explored from this source, particularly how noticeable pauses are and their impact on how a message is received.
It leaves us with a thought for you, the listener, to consider this week.
Yeah. If truly mastering these pauses is really about clearing the path for your message to be heard without distraction, how much does your perceived fluency, how smooth you sound, influence whether your valuable ideas are actually taken seriously by the people you're speaking with?
That's a really interesting question, something to chew on. Oh, this deep dive into the script has given us some really practical, actionable ways to look at speech fluency and those common verbal pauses.
It definitely highlights that with awareness and conscious effort, you really can significantly smooth out your communication. It's achievable.
Yeah. So maybe pick just one of these techniques from the source to focus on this week. Try embracing a purposeful pause, maybe, or just consciously try to slow down during your next important conversation. The journey to more fluent speech is definitely worth the effort, I think.